Chuck Snook $5. You should check out Professor Jiang. You'd like him and you should talk about him on your channel. 100 emoji.
All right, bro. Just for you. I had one saved up. Just for you. Just for you, gangster. Let's get into it. What the next 5 to 10 years looks like. Let's go.
Okay, so let us summarize what we've learned so far and discuss what is it that allows societies to rise and fall. So we'll look at 3 phases: the rise, the decline, and the collapse. Okay, so when I mean decline, I don't mean like things are getting worse. I mean things aren't improving, okay? So rise is when things get better. Decline is when things are stagnant or getting slightly worse. Collapse is when society is about to fall apart. Okay? So if you look at these 3 particular phases of society, there are different characteristics. When a society rises, it is first and foremost open. Open just means that you have opportunities for social mobility in a society. If you're a poor person, you can make money. You can become wealthy. Your talent is appreciated. It's a meritocracy. It's innovative. If you criticize society, people are like, thank you for criticizing us because criticism makes us better people. Okay, there's open debate. Now, what's really interesting is most young societies are open societies, okay? So, for example, in 1950s, America was a democracy, right? China
this, by the way,
was communist. But, this is really interesting, in the 1950s, they were both open societies. You could criticize leaders. In fact, you were encouraged to criticize leaders. China was as democratic back then as the United States. Okay? So it's not about political systems. It's just about what stage you are in social development. So if you're young, you're going to be open. You're going to be democratic. You're going to be meritocratic. You want to learn, so you will listen to criticism. Okay? That's the first great characteristic of a society on the rise. It's openness. But when you reach a decline phase, guess what? Society becomes bureaucratic. Okay? Bureaucratic. Why? Because if we go back to this model, as the company loses more and more money, the managerial class is concerned with maintaining their jobs. So they become bureaucrats. Okay? They have to prove their worth. So they create a lot of paperwork. They make everyone follow the rules. Society becomes more and more bureaucratic. Then in the collapse phase, society becomes authoritarian. Okay? Before, decline is about following the rules. Now, it's just rule by force. But there's no way of saying this. In the rise phase, what matters is the consent. Okay? So these 3 groups, the elite, the middle class, and the people, they're all working together to improve society. There's consent. But when you hit the decline phase, now it's their deception. And then when you hit the collapse phase, it's coercion. So let me give you an example. Let's just say we are in the rise phase, right? Well, we want to go to lunch. So we discuss where we go to lunch. I want to go to McDonald's, but you guys want to go to Pizza Hut or KFC. We have to debate, and then eventually we vote, and whoever wants to go, the majority wins, okay? That's the consent phase. When we hit the decline phase, deception, I'm the teacher, so I say to you, hey guys, let's go to McDonald's because Wang Fei will be there. Or Jack Ma will be there. Or it's free hamburgers today, okay? I'm lying to you to get what I want. And then in the collapse phase is, I say to you, I'm the teacher and I will beat you up if you don't listen to me. Okay? So, in the rise phase, what matters first and foremost is unity of the people. We're all working together. There's empathy. There's concern for other people. I want to be your friend. We need to work together to make society better, okay? But in the decline phase, it's really about stability. It's about making sure that society maintains the status quo. Okay? When we reach the collapse phase, it is survival. Screw you. I want to live, and I'm about to kill you.
Sounds like today.
All right? So this is a map that shows us what happens when society rises, declines, and collapses. Now, what's really interesting about this is the timing, okay? So if you actually look at societies, the timeline, it goes like this, okay? There's a steep rise, the decline is slow and the collapse is sudden. So people think, oh, decline, things get worse, but we follow this trend, we'll still be here, but actually the collapse happens really fast. Why? The reason why is this system cannot survive external shocks. So external shocks is a perfect storm of crises. So another way of saying this is, maybe society prepares for, okay, if there's a plague, we'll do this. If there's a climate crisis, we'll do this. If there's a drought, we'll do this. If there's a war, we'll do this, okay? What society is not prepared for is these things happening all at once. The plague, the drought, war, it's revolution. They all happen at once. It's a perfect storm. And that's what leads to the collapse, because society is not prepared for that.
Won't that collapse any nation, even if they're in a golden age? If you have like major cataclysms like that on top of war and all that shit, like it would stress any system to the brink of failure. Yeah, that's a huge stress test on a civilization.
Yes. Okay. And why is society not prepared for this? Because when you hit the authoritarian phase, you're not allowed to criticize the system anymore. The problem are those who speak out. The problem is those who point out the problems of society. In the rise phase, those who criticize society are the heroes. They are appreciated.
Yeah, with the censorship regime that Biden did, and it's still kind of ongoing today. If you're criticizing a certain nation in the Middle East, they've taken over TikTok. They took over Instagram. Probably YouTube will be next. Anything you say will absolutely get your account probably throttled or banned. And they've already been banning a ton of accounts and slapping people with, warnings, guideline strikes, all that stuff. We do not have real free speech in this country, in the United States. We really don't. All speech is compelled one way or another. You think you're allowed to criticize, but if you're really rocking the boat, they'll really start to come after you. If you really uncover damaging information, they will really start to come after you. If you make a big enough impact with a large enough audience, they will really start to come after you. You will end up on government lists. You will get blacklisted. You'll get debanked. You'll get basically depersoned on the internet. And that's it. And this is their form of control. And that's the overt version. You know that there are other ways that these systems are put in place to limit the reach of a person that's speaking up. You could just have a throttled account. You could be shadow banned. They don't have to remove you from the platform. They just limit your reach. Somebody like presses a button pretty much and the spigot turns off completely. You're not shown to anybody else. Somebody said, I'm still on the DHS list myself. I probably am, actually. And yeah, that was all done with government funded money. I got put on a list amongst others, most likely, for saying things that is not popular. I've had my accounts banned already and deplatformed I've been deplatformed on TikTok. That's why I don't even use TikTok. Can't even say half the shit I was saying because TikTok will ban you right away. This is normal. So another form of authoritarian big government, whether red or blue, it doesn't matter. It's just the flavor of the banning. That's all that changes. So right now there's Team Red. So we're dealing with a little anti-censorship bias, but only if you don't criticize a certain nation in the Middle East. But when it was Team Blue with the censorship wand, it was anything that they were propagating, LGBTQ, the trans community. You couldn't fucking misgender anybody. You couldn't do anything against the narrative that Team Blue had. You couldn't talk about the shot. You couldn't talk about the election. You couldn't talk about a lot of things. A lot of things. And today you can talk about a lot of things, but not everything. There are still some things that are off limits. Don't go near it. So do we have real freedom of speech or not then? And that's what you have to ask yourself. The answer is no, we don't.
They're rewarded. In the collapse phase, those who speak out are the enemies of society. And therefore society cannot be prepared for any external threats, which leads to its collapse. Any questions? Okay, so this is the analytical model that we're working with. And again, we're going to apply it to the present, and then we're going to apply it to the past. Okay? So with this analytical model, what we can do is make certain predictions about the future. So I will make these predictions.
Here we go. This is what I want to see. What are the predictions?
And I expect these things to happen in the next 5 to 10 years. 5 to 10 years. Or 10 to 20 years. Okay, I don't know the time frame, okay? I expect these things to happen. Okay, the first thing that's going to happen in the Western world is decline of democracy and freedom. So remember,
Digital ID.
in the rise phase, society is democratic and open and meritocratic. But as you move on, it becomes more bureaucratic and ultimately authoritarian, okay? So we will see the United States, Europe become much more authoritarian.
Yeah, digital ID in the UK. Instituted that shit regardless, and multiple people, even powerful heads of state, were saying no. Party leaders were saying, no, I will never comply. Instituted that shit despite nobody supporting it. That's crazy. And their answer to digital ID, why it was being instituted, well, it's going to help us solve the migration problem. You mean the migration problem you caused with open borders and inviting these people to the tune of millions and then housing them in illegal migrant hotels and then giving them jobs that they were not allowed to have and then putting them on the taxpayer's dime through welfare programs and giving them, a place to live that's paid for, food every day, stipend, and more depending on how many wives they have or kids they have and all that other shit, yeah? Think about it. So that's step one. We create a problem and we also have the solution. But in the meantime, your rights will be eroded. Okay.
You will see a collapse of democracy and freedom in these nations. And already we're seeing this happen in the United States where Trump is using more and more military to resolve issues. Right? So that's the first prediction. And this is going to happen throughout the Western world. The second thing is economic collapse. So as people have less and less right to speak up, they feel less invested in the system, they're less willing to work. Therefore, you have economic collapse. People don't believe in the system anymore. Okay, the system is in crisis. This will lead to immigration. The government is like, you know what, if people don't want to work, screw them, let's bring in immigrants to do the work. Okay, this is,
there you go.
Let's replace our population. But the people are not going to sit back and take it, right? This leads to civil war. People are not killing each other on the streets. And the government is like, you know what? If we continue to let them fight, eventually they're going to come after us. So what we'll do is send them off to like these stupid, pointless wars overseas. Okay? So now you have stupid wars. Stupid foreign wars. And these are my 5 predictions for the world for the next 5, 10, 20 years. Okay? Europe and America will see less freedom and democracy. There'll be economic collapse, increased immigration,
Facts.
civil conflict, and then ultimately stupid foreign wars. And I'm not saying this happens in a sequence. I'm saying you'll see all 5 things. Okay? But they may happen in different order. Any questions? Was this clear to you guys? Yeah, thank you.
Is there any chance that the government tries to use a war to distract the people? Like they're trying to hide all of the collapse of the society and they're... Yeah, that's a great question. And the answer is, that's what wars are for. It's to distract the people, right? Because if you don't distract the people, they'll come and revolt against you. So you either send them to a war or you could have a French Revolution on your hands. Right? That's your option. War or revolution? I think war's a better option. That's why we're headed into a world at war. Okay, no, I'm saying like, if you don't send the people to war, they will revolt against you. So you send them off to war to distract them, to get rid of them.
I wonder how much that strategy would work in the world today. With the advent of this technology called the internet, think about that. Can you really send a massive army into a war that normal people don't want to be a part of? Like, could you really repeat a going into Iraq moment, going into Afghanistan, right? Weapons of mass destruction in the climate we have, in the technological climate we have today? You really think that you could propagandize people like this when you can get the opposite narrative, fact check, quickly available to you to find out what's bullshit and what isn't? I know we have a huge swath of the population that doesn't use their brains and follows headlines, but more and more people are starting to realize just how much propagandized the news really is, how corrupt institutions really are, and how biased they are. Don't you think that more and more people are tuning into things like X and maybe Substack and independent sources? Or they're at least being, I guess you could say, fact-checked online more? Because the media certainly is losing their grip. I think they have record low viewership on mainstream media. And most of those are boomers that's left. So think about it. How do you get young people to go to war that don't even use the propaganda? That are indifferent? They're watching podcasts. They're listening to creators that are their favorite people to disseminate information for them, which is why they're trying to ban the content creators. They're, using other platforms that aren't the mainstream narrative approved avenues for information dissemination. So the TikTok shit, you're seeing it right now. They're waging a war on TikTok to not, go against basically Israel, right? Everybody that's mentioning them, anybody talking about the Middle East, anybody talking about genocide, anybody talking about anything like that, your accounts are getting shadow banned outright. You're getting content removed. Instagram started to do the same shit, all under the guise of whatever terminology you want to use. Anti this, bigot that, phobic this, ism that, whatever. And it's just people speaking. They're not even challenging these people out in the open to debates. They're not even, using the sunshine is the best disinfectant for conspiracy theories. They're actively trying to do the very thing that gave rise to all these conspiracy theories. They're trying to silence people. It never works. Streisand effect. You ban accounts, you silence people, they grow in numbers. Then you validate their kooky conspiracy theories. Now, oh shit, they banned me off the platform. Why, bro? Because I was telling the truth. That's weird. We had our own president, Biden, institute the Ministry of Truth. What do they call that department? The Department of Misinformation or some shit like that. And they're trying to literally propagandize the shit out of Americans and punish you actively in some form of, whatever, with government overreach for misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. Didn't know there were so much fucking words for propaganda. So you can literally shut down an American from speaking online, debank them, maybe penalize them financially in some other way, jail them outright, because the Department of Truth, doesn't like what you have to say. Isn't that crazy? And so how, if now they're losing their grip on information, how do you convince young people to go to war and fight these useless wars that were used to reset societies, economically speaking? I'm so curious. I don't see Gen Z and Gen Alpha sacrificing their bodies, getting off their couches to fight in somewhere. I don't think they're emotionally invested enough to give a fuck about Israel or Gaza or Ukraine or anything happening in anywhere around the world and people massacring themselves and all that. They'll put a black or a blue or whatever color check mark on their Instagram profiles, right? They'll put some little fucking emoji up, and that's the most that they'll do. They don't give a fuck. They're struggling here at home right now. Their own future is in peril. And then you're going to send them off to fight? For who? Send the boomers. That's yeah. How do you convince a Gen Z and Gen Alpha to fight your foreign wars, your banker war over fucking assets and power? Fuck, I don't know if you can. Yeah. Do we even need to be into any foreign wars? With all the nukes that we have, we can literally turn anyone into dust. Our borders are never going to be at risk of invasion. You fucking nuke the country who's invading you. The moment they cross the border, just nuke somebody. It's that. Why do you think the Ukraine-Russia war is going on in the way it's going on? Because they have nukes. Because you can't mount a full-scale counter-offensive on a nation that has the largest stockpile of fucking nuclear weapons, or else they would have got mopped up by the whole of Europe already. That's why nobody's doing anything. They're just sending trickle-down hammies to fucking Ukraine. Here, defend yourself as much as you can. Finger waving at Russia. Hey, it's bad for you to invade this non-nuclear armed nation, but we ourselves are going to keep buying fucking natural gas and oil from you, which is funding the war machine directly against this nation you're bullying. Stop that. Would you stop that shit? What war is a fucking racket? It's such a joke. Insane. We need real leadership, dude. That's the thing we don't fucking have.